this has to be very important for as long as you're 13 and above, actually, no matter the gender. So me and a friend of mine called Heights wrote this poem in 2018 for Public Health Ambassadors Uganda. The funny part is, we understood, they told us write about sexual health. Those are 2 words. So for us, first of all, we were young. We understood the other part more than the other part. So while we were performing the poem, they stopped us because it was too revealing. But then, in my opinion, I felt like we are in a society where we want to address topics, but how can I even explain? We want to address sexual health, but not really talk about sex. And for me, that was wrong. That was wrong, so I didn't rewrite the poem. I refused to write the poem, and I left that job to a more humble artist who was Heights. I feel like if you're going to talk about something, like you want to talk about Lus, talk about Lus, and if possible, talk to him about him. Because maybe something is wrong with him and it's not just a rumor. So if you want to talk about sexual health, make sure you include sex. Alright? You don't have to be vulgar, but the word itself is not vulgar. It's part of the communication. So the poem is called Sex is Music. That expression was to redeem myself from the judgment I'll get after. Considering my aunt is in the room. So, sex is music. There are various ways different people fuse it. Those in marching, they like it fast and hurriedly. Hip hop. While those in Munyonyo like it slow. R&B. Us in Bugolobi like it calm but strong like reggae. From the likes of the legendary Bob Marley. So if you're from Mutungo, how do you like it? Busta Rhymes or Charlie Puth? Yesterday or Kabako? The choice is left to you. But you see, sex is music. However, before you play it with your DVD, you need to have a CD with no scratches. Otherwise, the game will break and play and break and play until you're infected. So after every break, you have to eject it. Because your life is your wealth and you need to protect it. But you see, sex is music. However, do not rush to get Sheila Gashumba's flash because you want to listen to Nigerian hits. That thing might have a virus on. So before you use it, please check it and make sure the results contain a minus sign. However, there is always a better option. If sex is music and you're to play it, then make sure you've worn the best stage garment. Or if sex is music and you enjoy to play it, get married to one song and have it on replay. Other than being played once every night by DJs. Be safe. I won't do the rest. Mweze tano. 50K. I would like to welcome on stage Anne. I know that show is funny, but yeah, I'm not going to be them. And then after Anne is doing 3 pieces. Then after Anne, we are going to close the night with my surprise act. Okay? All right, Anne on stage, along with Dero.
Thank you, everyone. You're so much welcome, and thank you, Rachel, for inviting us. Like she said, my name is Asiat, and I have been, currently I work with Strong Minds Uganda, but then I have been working with refugees. I worked with refugees of South Sudan in Moyo district, that was Balorinya settlement, as well as worked with Congolese refugees. That was in Chaka too, and currently are working in Strong Minds Uganda, and we treat depression as well as anxiety, and I'm so glad to be here.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Rhonah. I'm Babazi. Thank you so much, Rachel, for organizing this. I'm honored to be here. Like Rachel said prior, a psychologist and a mental health advocate. I work with Tukule Foundation, where I'm a project manager for creating mental health awareness. We do school outreaches, universities, communities, and corporate companies. Again, it's a pleasure being here. Thank you.
All right, so we're going to start with our first question, which will go to Asiat, I think. What has it been like working in the mental health space, and how can young people dealing with depression and anxiety and suicidal thoughts find help?
Okay, thank you so much. It has been quite overwhelming because you may find yourself that when you are seeing people probably over social media, you find that people are putting out smiles, but then later on you get to hear that this person has committed suicide. So it's quite overwhelming at times because you find that most of the times people put on a face. For example, you are out with someone and you're smiling and they're telling you they're fine, but then in the end they're really not fine. Just because they find themselves that they are limited to whom they are going to be in position to talk to. So they find it very hard to express themselves, to express their feelings because they feel like they are really going to be judged. So usually you find yourself, it's really overwhelming to find that really there are quite a big number of people who are affected by different mental health illnesses or disorders, but then they are fearing to talk about them. Yes, and how people can be in position to find help. Like I said, I work with Strong Minds Uganda, and our services are free of charge. So you can be in position to reach out to us. You can dial *252 star option 10 and then hash. You can be in position to register yourself for free services, and we can be in position to reach out to you. We have a call to action whereby when you register in a period of 24 hours, you can be reached upon. Someone can call you, find out how you are, and when your scores for depression are really high, then we can be in position to assign you to a professional mental health facilitator or counselor for more help. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next question is going to go to Samantha.
Okay.
Samantha, how can young people have mental health conversations, and how can they make these less uncomfortable? Because usually when people are speaking about their mental health challenges, it's very hard. In what way can they have this in a less uncomfortable way?
I think first, the most important thing is for people to understand that mental health, like physical health, is health. It can be good or bad. And so once we understand that, every time the word mental health is mentioned, I'm not referring to like psychosis or suicide. I could be referring to what good mental health. Like I'm in check, I'm not stressed. And so once we normalize knowing that it has a spectrum as well, then we can have these conversations. But also another thing, let us have the conversations, even if they're uncomfortable. That is how you stop feeling uncomfortable about something. The more you grow into it. Yes, that's the only way to have these conversations is to have these conversations. My answer sounds but it's the only way to have the conversations. Have the conversations and understand that mental health is like physical health. And the most unfortunate thing is that we don't see people watering down physical health. Like, no, I have cancer, someone's like, you're pretending, you don't have cancer. People don't do that. But if someone says, I'm sad, or I have anxiety, you're faking it. And so because of that, because people are watering it down too much, their conversations are not being had. So let us have even when you're feeling great about your mental health, speak about it. Because therein you remove the stigma that people only talk about mental health when it's bad. And like, you know what, Nibol, I feel great today. I did this, and so I feel like my emotions are in check today. And so, okay, so mental health can actually also be good. It doesn't have to be bad all the time. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much, Samantha. The next question goes to Ainembabazi, the second Ainembabazi. And it says, what what has it been like working with young people in schools? And how can people relate better with them in regards to their mental health? Because they're usually our siblings, our nieces, and you've worked with people, you've gone to schools with young people. Yes.
First and foremost, like Aine Babazi has said, it's high time we normalize mental health. So when it comes to going to schools, talking to students, it is actually quite challenging, but also exciting at the same time, so it has its own plugs. You find, recently we were at a school where one student approached me. So usually it's about books, relationships with parents, boyfriend, girlfriends. But then student approached me recently and she's telling me a story of, so she was a premature baby, born at 6 months. And when she was born at 6 months, the mother abandoned her. And in that state already, I was already like, okay, how do I actually deal with this? Because I didn't know how to, I didn't even know where to start. And so she gets a midwife who takes care of her, and then she dies. So when she dies, the brother or the son to the midwife.
Wait, who died? The midwife?
The midwife dies, yeah. And when she dies, the brother or the son to the midwife threw her out of the house. So she's starting from scratch. So right now she's literally borderline schizophrenic. But you can't also come to a person and tell them you actually need help when they don't think they need help. So I was talking to her and she's narrating her story. She tells me she usually has moments where a group of people comes towards her. So she tells me a scenario where a group of boys around 18, 20 approached her and put a stone in her hand and the stone disappeared. So I was like, okay, what did that mean to you? She's like, I think it's spiritual, someone is bewitching me, they don't want me to be happy. But then she does not realize she's actually mostly hallucinating, because how can a stone just disappear in your skin? But then you cannot really make her understand. At her age, she cannot understand what mental health is. So I tried to talk to her and try to get her help, but I didn't know how to deal with it in that moment. So that was a big challenge for me. And then I think the exciting thing is, again, we're at another school, and a student was very excited. She even stood up and was like, I think in a very long time I haven't been this excited, and today I'm very excited because for once I realize I'm not the only one, and it's actually okay for me not to be okay. If I feel sad or depressed or anxious, I can understand that there's other people around me that could be going through the same, but maybe we're not sharing. So it's about teaching the young people mostly, like, it's okay not to be okay. And it's okay to share, other than judging and criticizing each other. Instead, be there for each other, be each other's keeper, and see how you can help each other. So it has been exciting and also challenging at the same time.
Okay, thank you. That's a lot of work that you're doing. Thank you for doing that with young people. The next question, we go back to Samantha. Okay, maybe this will go to Asia. How can young people who can't afford mental health, okay, I think you answered that, people who can't afford, because mental health services are quite expensive now, and then a lot of young people are struggling, like how can they get help if they cannot find professionals? Yes, there are very few professionals, so how can people help themselves or those around them?
Okay, mainly at Strong Minds Uganda, usually it's not only because we use the, okay, I don't want to go into those specific words, but it's a model that we use for treatment. It's called the IPTG. It's interpersonal therapy in groups. And for treatment of people who have depression, but then they do it in groups. So usually when people have graduated or they are terminated from the sessions that for a period of 8 weeks. And we know that amongst them, as you are a counselor, you may find yourself that amongst those people, there are people who have been really very active and they have benefited a lot from the therapy. Because not only that you counsel them, but also you provide them with skills. Not because usually when we are having these kinds of discussions or sessions, they are not more about what exactly you're going through, but what else is the other person going through. Because with the sessions that you have, you find that over and over again, I may be going through a situation whereby I lost my job. But then someone else in the group may have lost their job some time back, and they could be in position to tell me, okay, how were they able to overcome that kind of situation? So in my head, I can be in position to realize that, okay, so it's not only me who was sent off work. So that means that there are also other people who have also ever gone through this kind of situation. And also they can be in position to provide you with some skills that, okay, for me when I was sent off work, what I did is that I probably had some life savings and I tried to put up a stall. So this person in their head, they're like, okay, probably I don't have to look at this job at the moment, but I can be in position to use the skills that I know. Probably I know baking. Let me try baking, and so that I can get money out of this. In a long run, I can still be in position to look for a job. So it's not only about whatever we are talking about, but also what skills are they getting out of this. And also in the end, we find that we have peer facilitators, because most of the clients that we work with, most of them, out of the skills that they gain, they can be in position to gain knowledge. Because like I said, the IPTG model that we use for therapy, anyone can be in position to use it. Even a layman who has not gone to school, they can be in position to use this, because it's all about skills development as well as knowing yourself. Because within the group, when we're having this therapy, we can find that many people are discussing different things, and the ideas already, they don't come from the counseling
Cases. Don't be a hero, people will die. So if you could, they've shared numbers with that you can call. Okay, so maybe you could do a bit of damage control, but in the long run, you are not able to help somebody that is suicidal. Please don't be a hero. Someone will actually die. You don't have this, unless you are a friend and you're like, I name Babazi and you're a psychologist, please. But if you've not gone to school to study mental health, the best you could do, maybe, of course, if someone is on a ledge, you're not going to be calling Strong Minds Uganda at that point. But there's certain things you can do to talk them down, because this is your friend, so you know them. But immediately they're off that ledge, please call the numbers. These days there are so many hotlines. Just Google Mental Health Uganda. There's so many organizations that are offering emergency support for mental health, but you are not qualified to handle a suicidal case as a person, just the way you are. But what you could do maybe to not let it escalate to suicide, you can be a present person. You learn. There's a lot of information, so you can actually learn the things that could lead. Before, I don't have to wait for Nibol to be on a ledge. Suicide doesn't happen. It's a meditated thing. You think about it. You don't just wake up in the morning and you kill yourself. So as someone who has a friend, there are some tales that you could see, and then you would be able to say, but I feel like let's go visit Ainem Babazi, just let's talk to this person, or there's this number, or just you realize that there are things that take the person there. But again, I will say, because you will live with a lot of guilt and you'll be sad, and you don't be a hero. You cannot handle a suicide case unless you are a trained mental health practitioner. Yes, yes. Unless someone is on a ledge, but someone can come and tell you, I want to kill myself, and you're a hero, you're Googling all these things. No, it's not going to work like that. And that's the problem. We are in a generation that has a lot of information, and I've never been more scared. At first it was a good thing, but now I'm afraid, because you go on WebMD and you graduate yourself as a psychiatrist, you are a psychologist because you read a few Google articles, and you actually start putting not only your life but also other people's lives in danger. I don't see people misdiagnosing themselves with cancer. I don't understand why they don't take this as serious as that, or malaria. Yeah, so the things that you Google, just don't try this at home.
Don't Google your symptoms. Okay, thank you so much. We're going to take Rhonah the mic. So the second question says, because we've spoken of people that are suicidal, and there are some people that have actually gone ahead to commit suicide. So the question is, if there are people amongst us or those that are going to watch online that have lost family members or friends to suicide, usually they feel guilty, they feel like they did not do enough. So the question is, how can someone who has lost a loved one to suicide cope with the guilt of feeling like they didn't do enough to protect their loved ones?
Okay, number one, again, like I never said, don't try to be a hero. And secondly, suicide is a very hard topic to talk about, really, for most of us. And I think number one is have a conversation with this person. And as you have a conversation with them,
No, if the person has already committed suicide, now like their mother has remained behind, but their mother feels like they didn't do enough to save their daughter. How can you help this person with that feeling of guilt? Because usually they also become suicidal as individuals.
yeah. Well, I think mostly there is nothing you could have done about it. So you should not blame yourself in the first place. Because this person has actually taken time to think about, okay, this is how I want to kill myself. Like they went through a whole process. They did not just wake up in the morning and be like, I feel like committing suicide today. It was a process. So if you could not help them then, because they probably did not come to you, there's no way you could have known that they actually were going to commit suicide. So there is absolutely nothing you could have done about it. So if you feel guilty or anything, it's not going to, first of all, help much. And unfortunately, people usually don't help it when it's being that brutal. But you're also not going to bring that person back. So the only thing you can do is try to take care of yourself and how you feel about, for instance, if you feel depressed or anxious about whatever it is that happened, then maybe also reach out to someone who can help you for you to avoid or to prevent yourself from also committing suicide. And also to be there for the other people around you that you actually care about and wouldn't want to be in the same situation as the person who committed suicide. Yeah, so I think more or less.
Yes, thank you so much. The next question is going to be general, and I guess we're all going to answer it before we give the Q&A. So the question is, what has been your best experience working in the mental health field so far, and what can we learn from it? And what has been your worst? You describe both your best and your worst.
My best, I think, has been, when you interact with young people, the best feeling is to feel like you've impacted them in one way or the other. So to me, that has been my best. And feeling like I've actually taught them like mental health is normal. Or we can normalize it, we can talk about it, we can share about it. It does not have to be something where you have to hide or you keep quiet about something. You can actually talk to other people about it. So that also helps us in a way to break the stigma. So I think that has been so far my best challenge. My best thing about being in the field, my best experience. And I think my challenge so far is you cannot force a person to realize that they have a mental health problem. No matter what you do, you can talk to them, you can talk about mental health, you will share as much as you can. But if a person feels like they're normal and there's nothing wrong with them, you're not going to force them to understand that they actually have a problem and they need help. So that's been my challenge so far.
Okay, thank you. My best experience is when we have these clients, when we are talking to them. Usually men think that they don't get depression. So usually they always relate it to the females. They're like, it's only females who are in position to be having depression. But then when you talk to them, because like I said, our therapy, we do it in groups of 5 people. And usually when these people are having a conversation or a discussion, sorry? You can't. Okay, I was saying, is that better? Okay, I was saying that usually the therapy that we give is in groups of 5 people. So I have a group that I have been having, and these men were telling me that, okay, we never realized that there are also men who are really going through depression. So really, most of the times when we are talking about depression, we find ourselves that mainly women are seeking for therapy or for counseling as compared to men. And also when you realize that even the healing rate for women is really great as compared to the men, because you find that women share a lot as compared to men. You find your friend, even if you probably have met Samantha, I may tell her about my problems as compared to probably when he meets him. Yes, they may not be in position to share. Probably they can say hello, hi, and everyone is on their own discussion. But then if we go deeper and we are talking about something, probably me with Samantha, I could be in position to tell them, probably some challenge that I have at home, and they could be in position to provide me with a solution. So in the end, we find that we need to do more awareness so that men can also realize that yes, however much as women get depression, also men can be in position to get depression, and also they can be in position to seek for help. And most of the times you find that it's very interesting when a man calls in and they are talking to a female counselor, and they're like, oh, okay, so we are going to have therapy. And yes, and then later on when you put them in a group and they find that there are other men, so it gives them strength and they know that, hey, I thought I was alone. So that means that there are also other people. So if we keep on doing awarenesses and people get to know about these kinds of mental health illnesses, really we can make an impact. And also my worst experience, I would say that is when you try to support someone and then later on you lose them in terms of them not coming back for therapy. You feel like you have gone a step in supporting them, but then later on, you, like she said, you cannot force someone to get therapy. And you find that really whatever this person was really going through, depending on the symptoms, really, they needed support. But then you have only one session or two, and then you try reaching out to this client, and they tell you, you know, I'm so busy, I cannot be in position to reach out, or I cannot have the session. So they come up with excuses. So sometimes you find it really so challenging. And in the end, later on, they call you and they're like, hey, Asiat, you know, I have this challenge. You know, I didn't overcome whatever I was going through. And you're wondering, okay, so how do I come in at this time when I had provided this very time for this person and they didn't take it up on? So really, that is really challenging, because you may even find that this person, as you are supporting them, they left and then something happened. Or they probably killed someone, or even they killed themselves. So it's really a very big challenge. Thank you.
And on your best experience, how you're saying men don't think these are women's problem. It's
Yes.
ironically more men than women that are actually dying from suicide.
Yes, because they keep quiet a lot and they feel like, and also because of culture, we know that men are so strong. Yeah? And women, we are always referring to ourselves as vulnerable. We feel like, no, me, I'm weak, I can share. But men feel like, when I talk to the other man, he will feel like, probably I'm not man enough. So why do I have to share? So you keep it in and it absorbs you until the point whereby you find that you cannot go on anymore. And in the end, some people tend to commit suicide.
Math is all that feedback. I did this, I didn't give up. Today, like the people that they reach out to and how they call in and reach out and say, because of this particular program, I've been able to do this. The success stories, they're really encouraging, especially because my mental health work is started out survivor best. I've just started getting more like professional skills, but I started out survivor best mental health. So it would be so amazing that we would share and people would actually call in and say this helped them, and then maybe my worst experience is still the same thing. Survivor-based mental health comes with a lot of triggers and undealt with trauma, and it's very embarrassing to go through a session and you're triggered, and now the client, of course you're holding it together, but you're telling the client, at this point I am the client right now, but but you don't mouth it, and so it's very, it's kind of like a yin-yang situation all the time. But also I think the thing that scared me the most, in 2021, I lost with someone I know committed suicide, and it really was. I felt like if I had started earlier, because when we just started, I moved up country, and you keep blaming yourself. You're like, if I had started these spaces earlier, maybe this person would know what to do. Maybe, so there's those kinds of setbacks. But like I remember, as you said, you learn that you can't control people, and that the mental health support is based on the biggest background of consent. You can't give someone services they don't consent to, and that's how I learned to get myself out of these self-guilt trips. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much, Samantha. Now we're going to go to the Q&A.
But there's been a lot to learn. Thank you for sharing. I was waiting. I'm still forming the question in my head. I know what I want to ask, but I don't know how to ask it. So I'm here thinking, now we are, a lot of us are among the 14 million. When she was explaining the signs and first aid, is there something like that for when I'm faced with someone with suicide? I'm not a professional, but what can I do to stall the person from that kind of first aid, to just salvage the situation until we get a professional?
Okay, at the back of their head, they don't want to do it. Yes. So they probably are waiting for someone to come and save them. So you may be that very person. So all in all, you be there. Don't leave them. So you may find that you can try, I may talk about you talking to, finding someone that you already know, so that it becomes very easy. Not in a way that you have found someone who's very random, because you find that it's really hard to tell them anything because you don't know them. But then with someone that you know, you may find yourself that, yes, you can talk about them, that, is it okay, like we talk about this, how are you, things like that. You're trying to relax them, so that they can, in one way or another, find that they're not thinking about that. So that is the first thing that you can be in position to do. Be there, yes. This person can talk about them and talk about things, and probably in the end you may find them talking about that, okay, I thought that I was alone, but you've been here, so I think I cannot do this, So the first thing is that you being there, and you don't leave them, because you may find that in the long run, even some people, they have a pile of pills, but then they're like, okay, they can even put them down, but then still in their head they're having those suicidal thoughts. And in the end you can be in position, because you're providing a safe space for them. Can we talk about this? How are you? Things like that. So you know how to talk to as a person that you already know. So it's in that way, when you are there for them, they can be in position to talk about the little. That very little can be very helpful. Thank you.
And then also, like she said, as the person talks to you, try not to then start giving them advice, because you might start giving them advice and you instead pushing them more to being suicidal. So try to listen to them as much as you can, be empathetic with them, try to understand their point of view, and if possible, let them walk you through of, like, for instance, how did they start thinking about it? What was their the first plan of, okay, I want to commit suicide? What was the whole strategy? Because as they talk about it, they start feeling like, okay, do I actually have to do this? So then it becomes easier. So that also helps.
All right, we've come to the end of this panel. I guess you guys are going to say your closing remarks. And we could, you don't have closing? Okay, you can give us your closing remarks, and we call Lus back.
All right, first of all, thank you very much, Kimball, for organizing this. This was amazing. And and Lus, hello, Mr. Lus. Thank you very much.
You're being given
for
credit.
Organizing this and making sure that everybody has been here and present from the start to the end. Well, the panel. We're grateful, and for the take home, it's okay not to be okay. So let's learn to normalize talking about mental health. That's the only way we're going to be able to break the stigma and make your mental health a priority. Learn to look for the sunshine out of the darkness. Like, don't just focus on the bad, also look out for the good. So try to be mindful of the things that are around you. Learn to take care of yourself. Like, once in a while, take yourself out of the space where everything is in a rush right now. The economy is terrible, this, that. But once in a while, get into your own space where you actually think about you. Like, get into your own body and see how you're feeling. Like, check in with yourself. Like, be like, how am I today? How is Rhonah today? Take your time for you. And most importantly, like I remember as I was saying earlier, as much as you take care of your physical health, learn to take care of your mental health as well, because it is also very paramount. Thank you very much, and have a lovely night.
Okay, the take on home is know how you can be in position to express your feelings, because most of the times we find ourselves that we don't know how to talk about when we are sad, or when we have lost interest, or when we are feeling that we are failing to find sleep. Most of us, we may look at it as something very simple, but in the end, it may not be as simple as you think about it. So most of all is really relate with how you're feeling. And if you feel like you're not really doing okay, talk to someone. It may not be a professional, but talk to a friend. You can look out in the list of the contacts that you have. Is there anyone that you can reach out to? Is there that person who can listen to you? So yes, all in all, talk about how you're feeling, because it's very crucial. Share. Thank you, and have a good night.
I start with saying thank you Nibal. Thank you, Luz. This is amazing. Thank you, people that came with me. And thank you everybody else that has been attentive, that has given their time to listen to this about mental health. I will say my last remarks will be, and they have gone. My last remarks will be, I wanted to say something that we have, there's what they call toxic positivity, and that's what I want my last remarks to be about, where people feel like they've adapted toxic ways of coping, and to them it makes sense that this is positive. For example, people who say that I don't need anybody, I've figured life out. Human beings are social creatures by design. That's how we are made. And so when you start telling yourself, I have arrived to a point where I don't need anybody, I don't trust anybody, I'm riding solo, that is toxic positivity. We are social creatures. That should be your cue to say, okay, what is wrong with me? Why am I cutting off everybody? And another thing I wanted to say is that watch out for your triggers. And sadly, this is getting banned, but the world does not owe you walking on eggshells around your triggers or your boundaries. So you have to watch out for your own triggers and boundaries and do the work yourself. I'm going to come and attack you and offend you, because first of all, I don't know your triggers, but also I don't owe you anything. So yes, I don't owe you kindness. But you have to be awake and realize what is going to matter to you and what won't matter. Because unfortunately, I'm not those people that are going to say we're going to live in sunshine and rainbows forever. But just learn how to figure out your own coping mechanisms. Have a good night. Thank you, people.
Let's clap for the panel. Thank you so much. We're going to have...
Never make love, but they have street children. Welcome to my city. Living in it is like a game. Desire played it for the aim, but ended up on the wrong side of it, called the shame. When my city is taking a selfie, everybody wants to be in the frame, screaming, we do not picture perfect, but we are worth the picture still. Welcome to the other side of town. Some call it the ghetto, some call it the downtown, where education, medication, transportation, and all the other services are down. The people there live on one meal. They say time is too slow, society will never heal. But they also work all night and party all day. They also work all day and party all night, celebrating their small wins with Rolexes and more sex. They are beautiful people with beautiful dreams who later in the night get intoxicated in the booze. Welcome. Welcome to the political side of Kampala, where MPs do not need ropes to tie down the hopes of those who gave them votes, where the leading leaders know nothing about the state of the nation but still address us during State of the Nation. You see, in political Kampala, we have seen more change in the climate than the change in power. In political Kampala, you need to look left and right before crossing a one-way road. In political Kampala, the hospitals need serious treatment, but you and I are not allowed to talk about political Kampala. So if you speak now, you'll forever lose your next breath. Welcome to the religious side of town, where pastors spread more STDs than the gospel, where choir sisters attend church every Sunday, but plan to rope beds on Monday with different married misters. It's a city of miracle workers who earn more than the government workers. I guess the people in Kampala believe more in miracles than government services. But you see, if most of the preachers in Kampala preach what they actually practice, heaven would be an empty place. But welcome. Welcome to the love zone side of the city, where lover boys gift fake iPhones to girls with fake eyebrows, where love poems speak louder than actions. In this side of Kampala, but sugar daddy basiba ku eseza buto. In this side of Kampala, bu eseza buto bwaizo kujamu embuto. In this side of Kampala, Queen Shiba asiba kunamira emiti emito. In this side of Kampala, ebiseera by'omu maaso government ebiseera nnyo. But we do not really mind, as long as the bars stay open and the beer always flows and the music always plays. We are beautiful people with beautiful dreams who later every night get intoxicated in the booze. Welcome to Kampala. Thank you.